Hello, in this video, we will introduce exception types. Let's look at this diagram. We already know arithmetic exception, no point exception, index out of bounds exception. Now, in Java API, there are many exception classes. They are classified into exception and error, these two big categories. Now, all of this are subtype of throughable. So the throughable is the root for all the exception classes. Now, what's the difference between this exception and error? Now, please note that these are the names. This is called exception, this is called error. So everything here, exceptions, they are errors. And errors are exceptions. So this is just a name here. The exception is this. This is something you can handle, process, and your program will continue executed on the computer. And this error is something you cannot continue. You have to just report it and your program has to stop because the error is something is related to the system. You have a hardware issue, you don't have enough memory, or there's something really, a software library is missing, and this kind of things, it's not recoverable. And the exception, things, if you encounter it, you can continue and move on. Now, runtime exception, it's right here. And this is, it's a lot of things, runtime exception, we'll talk about it. And you can see IO exception, class not found exception. All right, so let's look at this now here. We're gonna look at this, the table right here is the arithmetic exception here. So runtime exception represents the errors occur very common. It's something like backcasting, accessing an out of bounds array, and numeric errors. Runtime exception normally indicate programming errors. You should, in the program, should not let this happen. It's a programming error. So if it happens, you normally should fix it. So here, so this is the no point exception. So that is your programming error. So you have a no point exception. You have you're in the code, and you have a reference a variable. It doesn't refer to any object, but you try to invoke its method. So you get no point exception. Index out of bounds exception. So that's something is you have issue with your program is you use the index that is out of bounds. So you need to fix all these errors. All right, so that's all for this exception types, and we'll look at more of this in the future.